Welcome to the Dash Podcast. I'm your host, Trey Gamage, and I've got a special guest with me today, Lloyd Knight. He's the principal at Charter School USA, the Thomas Carr Howe Community High School. He's been all over the country from North Carolina, Indianapolis, Chicago, doing amazing, great things. And as I just found out, you've got a Black Educator podcast. Lloyd, can you tell me about that? Because I've been searching and looking at different avenues for educators to gain insight into what's going on in our industry. And, I see a lack of representation, and I see a lack of things that are out there are non-formal. Everything is so serious in education. So talk to me about the Black Educator podcast and what you've got going on over there.
So, Trey, thank you so much for allowing me to be on your podcast today. I'm so excited to just chop it up with you about education in general. And you're right, man. Education is far too formal too many times. And I'm looking forward to just kicking back and just talking some good game with a fellow educator like yourself.
Yes,
Black Educator Podcast was launched because I'm personally going to be on a panel at the ASU GSV conference discussing a return to Black schools, which I also believe is a return to community schools. Black Educators Podcast, at least the first episode, was just about the idea of how is it that we have so few Black male educators within our country when Black people in general make up such a significant portion of our population and are the vast majority within our inner cities. So 2% of all educators in this country are African-American males. And that is a disparaging, it makes me feel terrible for inner city communities because so many times our students are being taught by people who don't look like them, understand them, carry their swag a certain way. They don't connect with them. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't great white teachers, because obviously there are, because there are so many students who are making it out of terrible situations through education. What I am saying is that I have a problem with a system in which we have the research that says that African American students do better when they're taught by African Americans, and we got 2% of all educators being African American males. So it seems like we have been engulfed in a system in which we have students who are not being fed by the people that will feed them the best because of whatever reason our education management organization, whether it's a district, whether it's charter schools, whether it's turnaround schools, is not seeking out people of the community. We want to go find people, the best people from all over the country, when you may not realize that somebody could be just as effective. Someone could be just as effective from within the community if given the proper training. Not only could they be just as effective, but could be even more effective than the person that you think is an expert, because they are going to be more willing to connect with the people that they're going to be teaching. And that's what the overall theme of the Black Educators podcast is pretty much about.
Yeah, well, and that's real, because I think a lot of times, teaching goes beyond technique. And there's, several articles about it. I know I first heard it from Parker J. Palmer. He talks about the heart of a teacher, but it goes past technique. And I noticed in your article, the letter to yourself as a first-year teacher, what stood out to me, you said that college prepared you for a lot of things, to be a better husband, be a better father, be a better everything, but it didn't teach you how to do classroom management and lesson planning. So that makes sense. And again, for yourself, being in areas like Chicago, I know you've been in some of the tough neighborhoods, Indianapolis, Wake County schools. How did you build that skill, and how much of it was technique and how much of it was who you are as a person?
Awesome. I can honestly tell you that the moment I started teaching in true inner city schools, whatever I was as a person really didn't matter at all. My first experience in true inner city schools was I was the 5th teacher in the first month at Johnson School of Excellence and Academy for Urban School Leadership School. And Chicago public schools. They were in the second year of their turnaround, and I was surrounded by the most amazing educators I have ever seen. I mean, these people, the way they spoke to the kids, the way they taught, the energy they had, it was just remarkable. And I would just watch them teach, and I would just be so amazed at them. Problem was, though I was the fifth teacher in the first month, I stayed for the full year, but I was ill prepared to deal.
Wait a minute. Well, you said the fifth teacher in the first month.
Oh yeah.
So there was 4 teachers teaching your class before you got there. So 4 teachers quit before you got there.
Yes. Wow. They quit.
Wow.
Yeah, they quit.
Wow.
Go ahead. And look, we got time as a podcast, baby. So basically, one of the teachers went to the school, had lunch with the class, got in the car, never came back. Another lady, she fell deeply in love with her boyfriend and quit. I'm never going to say anything disparaging about my students in the North Lawndale neighborhood on the West Side, but anyone from the Chi really understands, like, the drugs, and poverty, generational poverty, have absolutely decimated the West Side of Chicago, North Lawndale.
Wow.
And I learned so much then, and I think, like, when I went to Chicago, or I went to when I came to Indianapolis, I would ask people about how many kids per classroom consistently are coming in ready to destroy everything that you had planned for that day. And they say, each class probably has like 3 or 4 kids like that, And when I was in Chicago, when I was on the far south side of Chicago in the Oakdale Gardens Housing Project, Housing Authority in Chicago, maybe like 5 or 6 per class, wiggly, whatever. Man, I had 29 kids, and 27 of them kids would have ate my lunch every single day if I lived. But it was a trial by fire. Man, there was a lot of tears. I'm so grateful to Alice Henry, my principal during the time, and Troy LaRaviere, who eventually ran for mayor in Chicago. I'm grateful for them for being patient for me and let me feed my family. I was awful that year. But they allowed me to grow. They allowed me to learn. I had some amazing coaches from AUSL who came in, did real-time coaching. A lot of teach like a champion strategies. I learned about narration. I learned about filling the air with positivity so that they didn't fill the air with negativity.
Wow.
I learned about acknowledging every student every 15 minutes in some way, whether it's a touch, eye contact, or positive framing of directions. And when I closed the year, I felt really strong, but my scores weren't very good, so I was rightfully fired at the end of the year. But I knew that if I went anywhere else after that, I was going to tear it up. Yeah. And I had a chance to go to CICS Lloyd Bond, and pretty much the rest is history. So,
so talk me through real quick your education journey with that, because I see you've been in North Carolina, you've been in Chicago, you're in Indianapolis now. Tell me about your journey a little bit.
So when I left Johnson School of Excellence, I went over to CICS Lloyd Bond, like I said, far south side of Chicago, Oakdale Gardens. The year that I left the school, the Chicago Tribune rated it as the number 2 most dangerous neighborhood in Chicago. Had a population of about 4,000 people with about 600 murders. I think there's something just outrageous. But I love the Gardens. I'm so grateful for all the people who were there. I started off there as a 5th and 6th grade teacher. Had really good scores in a school that didn't have very good scores. Charter School USA took over the school from Edison Learning after that year. And then I became a curriculum coordinator, and then I became an assistant principal the following year. In the last semester of grad school, in my last class, I was offered, as for administration, I was offered principalship of the school. I became principal at CICS Lloyd Bond, and 2 months into my school year, we actually we were informed that we were on the closed list. We were going to close at the end of the year if we didn't perform. So from there, over the course of the rest of that semester, we worked hard, a lot of curriculum stuff that, I can dive into, but we basically went from the closed list in 2 years to the number 4 school in the city of Chicago.
Wow.
and one elementary school on the south side of Chicago, according to Chicago Magazine. So
Wow.
I had an amazing. I've always been lucky to have an absolute amazing team always around me, and I've been blessed to have them in my life. Over at CICS Lloyd Bond, I mean, I had a husband-wife combo, the Kirks. I had Miss McDermott, Wheatley, Zenas, Barnes. Like I can go Hogan, Johnson, Somerville, Atkins, Cruzy. I mean, always been blessed to be around really great educators, and we did a lot of great things there.
Yeah.
We led our network of CSUSA in growth for 6 consecutive data cycles. But at the end of those 2 years, I went ahead and went to North Carolina and was their state superintendent, and I helped them open 6 schools and 8 buildings over the course of 4 months. As the lead principal, I served 3 different boards, but I don't enjoy upper level administrative work. I wanted to be with the kids, so I felt like the Lord called me to come to Indianapolis. And now that I'm here, we're on the precipice. We're the longest failing school in the state of Indiana. NPR was embedded in our school for 3 days, and they did a story on our school and myself and the turnaround we've done. And right now we got a lot of pull. Tomorrow we're going to go before the State Board of Education to see if our school can become a K through 12 charter school. So I'm excited about that.
So you weren't a part of starting that charter school, and I'm interested because I really like charter schools myself. I worked with a K-12 charter school, just got approved for 9 through 12 this past summer, and it's a rural charter school. So they've been in existence for about 5-6 years. I go down there a couple of days a week and do guidance and behavior work with them. Amazing school, one of the only successful rural charter schools in South Carolina, or at least the area. Talk to me some about your experience with charter, because it gets a bad rap in a lot of lanes, but to be in a charter school and see the opportunities for kids that are in lack is amazing to me. So talk to me about your experience with charter.
So I am 100% a school choice advocate, and most school choice advocates don't look like me. And, I think I was actually talking to someone the other day about this, and about how, a lot of times people vote against their interests. They allow other people to tell them that the boogeyman's behind the door so that they won't go there. So I'm not anti-district. Like, I love public schools. I just think that, like, when we're talking about when education is not going well in an area, I think competition works. And what I mean when I say that is that if you're not willing to do everything necessary to make sure the stakeholders of your school community get the absolute best of everything at all times, then you're failing them.
Yeah.
When proponents, again, when people who are anti-charter talk about the money that's taken from districts because a charter school has been built, I scoff at that. And the reason why I do that is because, I'm sensitive to their needs. But what I'm saying is, instead of you saying, hey, these charters done took my kids, what I'd like to hear is, man, let's go. Let's compete. Let's fight. Let's see who's going to truly provide the better education for the students of this community, because the students and the parents deserve the opportunity to make the choice. Not you and your building that's empty because you have not done what's necessary to fill it.
Yeah.
You don't get to be upset with me because my charter school has found a way to attract people to my school, because I'm going to do everything necessary to go get those students.
Right.
Long failing public schools. My thing is it, and I'm a part of one now. We're a state turnaround school, 13 consecutive years.
Wow.
I think that's unfair. I don't think charter schools are under such and starch scrutiny.
Yeah.
If we don't perform, we will be closed in the next 5 years. No question about it. We will close, and it won't be a tear shed, because we came as a community saying we're ready to compete and be great. And if we're not willing to do that, then of course we don't deserve to continue to be there. So
yeah,
that's how I feel about school choice. I understand how people feel about, like, the obvious things. You know, they feel like, a for-profit management company is there not to educate students, but to make money. What I will say is this, if a management organization, whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, has found a way to take the same resources that were given to a district and spend them in a strategic way to maximize those dollars for the children of their building, and the children and the parents and the stakeholders of that community do not have an issue with that,
why not?
then why not? Because at the end of the day, and this is where I talk about people voting against their interests, you're not going to tell somebody who lives in the inner city that they shouldn't go to a school that's good for their child because of some political thing. They don't care about that. They care about the education of their child and to maximize the opportunity for that student to be able to do great things in the future for their life. So that's why I'm a pro-choice advocate.
Yeah. And so you mentioned a couple times being a turnaround school, and I've seen a lot of turnaround specialists. What does that mean? What's a turnaround school? What's a turnaround specialist? How do you turn a school around, and what are you turning them around from?
Excellent. So I have heard people describe me recently as probably one of the few true turnaround specialists in the country, and I think part of that is because there's a lot of people saying they turn schools around, but they don't really turn schools around to sustained success. So from my perspective, what is a turnaround school? A turnaround school is a school that some authorizer has determined if they do not succeed, they will close. When I came to TC Howe in Indianapolis, I was pretty much given a mandate by my superintendent and the CEO that night, if you don't turn this around, we're going to close the school, right? When I was at CICS Lloyd Bond, Chicago Public Schools said, CICS Lloyd Bond, if you don't turn the school around, we're going to close. So basically, a turnaround school is your back's on the wall, and now you have hopefully some education expert who's going to be able to step forward and say, I have a plan to make this school a viable place where districts and many education experts have already decided is not. Long's failing schools according to state accountability, and schools are failing for multiple reasons. State test scores. In Chicago Public Schools, they had the 5 essentials talking about like survey data, offering CTE, CCR courses, graduation rates, the number of students who go to a 4-year university. Those are all traditional ways to measure the success of a school. What I would say is that many times people who are in charge of schools that are failing, they're not looking at the small stuff matrices, measures to really truly find success. And I'm a person that I always find a way to assemble a team and put people on the right bus to be able to make the magic happen, which is saving schools.
Yeah. What are some of, so you've turned around how many schools, or you've been the principal in a situation around how many?
So I've turned around as principal, living in the community, 2 schools. I turned around a school in Louisiana 3 years ago. Right. It was on the cusp of closing, and I was going back and forth between Chicago and Louisiana.
Wow.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I helped turn around school in Tallahassee, Florida this year. I went down for a week, redid their school-wide discipline policy, talked to the principal, set forth a plan of new expectations. I've done it in Jacksonville, Florida, as well, in which when I was an assistant principal, I was told to go down to a school. So typically with Charter School USA, if a school has taken a real negative turn, they really need some fresh eyes on the situation, I've been asked to.
Gotcha.
Occasion to check it out for them.
Okay. Now, where does your heart for all this come in? Because this isn't easy work, going back and forth to Chicago, working with schools that are failing. I mean, some folks, and we're in a teacher shortage, so it's hard to find people to come in anyway. Teachers are getting burnt out, especially at this point in the year. Teachers ready to go home. How do you find this hard to continue to go to schools that are struggling, or schools that are failing, and put in all your effort, all your might to turn that school around?
I think first and foremost, I'm gonna give glory to God. My Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, man. I'm not the best Christian in the world, but I truly believe God has placed me in different places in the world and put me through things so that I could be live a testimony of education.
Yes, sir.
Within the inner city. So I would say it started probably when I was 5, when my birth mother died as a result of having my my younger brother, who I love very much. And then at 12, my father died of a heart attack in the room next to me. Before that, he had remarried my Korean stepmother, who barely spoke the language. So as a black man, 12 years old, black boy, 12 years old, having to be a man at the time, I'm so blessed to have my my Korean mother to be able to like watch over me and keep me safe and stuff like that. But school was my sanctuary, man. Like, I didn't have any male figures in my life that looked like me.
Wow.
I didn't have any body who could understand, I think, the pain I was truly in during that time. And when I went to school, my teachers took care of me. You know, they loved me and they to me at a time where, you know, they didn't have to, but they did it because it was their job. It was their life. So I want to be that blessing to other people. And I think that's part, I haven't realized that. I think probably in the last like 4 or 5 years that I think like that's where it comes from, because I love my job so much and I'm driven by it so much because I just want to be that person.
Yeah.
That connect the dots for another person so the next Lloyd Knight can step forward and like help lead our culture, help lead our people, help lead education. I'd like to go down as probably one of the greatest educators who ever lived at the end of the day. And I think part of my drive for that is less selfish about me and more about my daughters. I have 2 beautiful daughters. And I want them to know, like, the same way I was proud of my father, who was a Vietnam War veteran and got his master's before passing, and someone who was super into education, that, you know, I want them to know, like, their father was a great educator and that, you know, I got to take things to the next level too, you know. Not to digress too far, but, you know, we're only about 60 years removed from the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
Like 50 years removed from the civil rights movement. So, like, every generation that comes after us, I want to have a hand in making sure that our people get to the next level so that we can be able to move freely through this country and do everything we need to do. So. That's the realist, and I think that's a great point. I think it's lost in a lot of situations, you know. And myself, my grandfather grew up picking cotton. My father is a judge in Indiana, and that's a huge gap. You know, that's crazy. Like, that's my grandfather picked cotton for 100 pounds, $1 a pound, or whatever the case was. So to go in one generation from picking cotton to the highest position that you can hold in the county, that shows me a different perspective of the world. But what I've realized as I've gone on to have a scholarship to play football in college and be a successful public speaker and have my own business and stuff, is that everybody doesn't have that opportunity. And the kids that are in these schools, they don't get to choose what they were born into. I didn't get to choose my dad. I didn't get to choose my father. And we have a family Bible that goes back to the 1830s. Most people that look like you and me can't go back to 1930, you know, or can't go back past their grandfather, because that history is lost. The history is forgotten. The history is gone. So to see that and understand that student in Chicago, that student in this place right now, they don't even know what they're missing, and they've never had the opportunity to see anything better. So even though I'm in here and I'm willing to struggle, or I'm willing to go through the struggle to help you understand the value of this opportunity. And I think you have an article. I'm trying to pull it up a little bit. Go ahead. Check out my article.
And so that's on LinkedIn, Lloyd Knight on LinkedIn. You can find them there. You have an article, Pushing Students Through Poverty to Success. But I don't know if this was you or something else that I saw. You talk about how you help students understand the value of a quality education when they've never seen it represented before.
I think how we interact with students every day can paint a picture of value of education that they will not necessarily see anywhere else. So like, I once met a principal who said every day I wear a suit because I don't know if our students are seeing young Black people in suits outside of this building.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you have those graduations and like you'll have like a graduation or moving up ceremony and you tell the kids to dress up and everybody got like really nice jeans.
Mm.
Like that's the sort of thing that gives me pause to remember that, wow, right? So like, I'm wondering if you're going to be into education, but you haven't even learned the basic building blocks of what an educator should look like, sound like, think like, right? So within our school, every day we push students to give their all on every single thing they do, right? We believe in excellence. So like, we don't do anything unless we're going to be excellent, right? So because of that, when a student tells us what they want to do or what they're going to do in life and different things, we don't always say go to college and just major in something, right? We have CTE courses here like welding and culinary arts and stuff. And we don't tell them, hey man, you could be a cook. We be like, yo, you could be a chef.
Yeah.
Or you could be your own cook and catering business. So like when I wanted to hire a culinary teacher, I had a hard time, right? Because I wanted to find a certain fit for my culinary class. Couldn't find it. So what I do, I went to a senior banquet and I meet this wonderful lady who's catering the business. I said, hey, would you be willing to come to our school 2 hours a day if I paid you and show our students how to cook?
Wow.
Yes. So like finding conventional ways to put professional people in front of our students, or I got kids who want to be dancers. So what did I do? I asked my athletic director, go find me the best dance team in the city. They came in and I said, hey, would you be interested in starting a dance club here the first 2 periods of the day so that our students who are super passionate about dance can get a chance, right? Yeah. So we don't just do educators who are like math, reading, science, social studies. I'm looking for people of color. I'm looking for people of different genders. I'm looking for different people just in general to be in front of our students because you never know which adult could be that one person that can truly change the life of that student just by being present. And I think that's the most important aspect of like my main true passion, I think, which is like mentoring. Yeah. And I think mentoring apart from education is just so important because I know for a fact there's no way I would be where I am in my life if I didn't have amazing mentors around me.
You've got so much powerful stuff. I almost forgot I was in an interview right now. I got to ask another question.
Look, I already told you this about to be the best show, man. I already told you that. Like we about to get it in. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. And it's interesting bringing up CTE. Career and technology education. I graduated high school in 2011, and we didn't have career and tech. And if we did, it was for the other kids. So how are you able to embed career and tech inside of your day-to-day curriculum? How do you find that time? There's not enough time in the day already, for students to learn whatever they need to learn with distractions and all that. How do you find the time to have a cooking class or a dance class and stuff like that?
So what I did was last year we had 7 periods, and this is where like the difference between, we can go into the difference between a district and a charter and all that stuff too. Because when I looked at all the different high schools in our city, I was like, man, everybody has something they're specializing in. Whether it's Purdue Polytech, where if you graduate from Purdue Polytech High School, you get automatic acceptances to Purdue.
Wow.
I know you want to go back to school now, don't you? Addix High School has like medical technology. Broad Ripple had the fine arts. Emmerich Manual, our sister school, had lots of CTE stuff, college career readiness stuff. So I'm looking at my school and I'm like, yo, why am I expecting everybody to come here if I'm not offering nothing, right? So me and some very close people on my team, we came together and we was like, yo, what if we started the day with after school programs? What if I added a day? What if I shortened my periods, added one to the front end of my day? And for the first 2 periods every day, instead of you going right to class and us expecting you to learn after all that mess that's been on you all weekend and stuff.
Yeah.
You get to see the person that you love so much that you stay after school to be with as soon as you walk in the door. We're a uniform school. Now you can come in without uniforms on, right? Now you get to go straight to football practice to start the day, straight to basketball practice to start the day, straight to dance practice to start the day, straight to culinary practice to start the day, straight to student council part of the day, and it's for high school credit. So that's where the academy model was built. The basis of it came from Ron Clark. I went to Ron Clark Academy, and I saw the different houses, right? But, honestly, I thought that Hogwarts stuff was kind of corny, right? I mean, be honest with you. So I was like, all right, well, we're going to do we'll have an athletics academy where everybody in that academy, 200 kids per day, are going to fill the gym, and they're going to do strength conditioning, weights, and they're going to have practice with their coaches. Oh, workouts with their coaches. Arts academy, culinary arts, choir, dance. They're going to be able, first thing every morning, to go right into the thing they love for high school credit. Service learning is some of our extra classes, plus student council, plus like community service. And then lastly, JROTC. Our JROTC is number one in the city based on a recent inspection. So all year, they've been competing in academic wars, cultural wars. We have this thing called Read Like a Scholar. We had a library full of books that no one ever read. Yeah. I took those books, put them in the hallway. Now all students have to have a book with them at all times. They have to read them. There's a competition about how many books you read and book reports you've done. And all that culminates in a monthly house war. So like last month, Black History Month, we did a step contest. We've done flag football. We've done spelling bee. So, and then we keep the points, and the house that wins at the end of the year, we're going to send all of them to Kings Island. So what I do is so it sounds pretty cool, right? So like, I think I can compete. So what ends up happening is I exceed my enrollment target by 80 students, and we have the highest retention of students we've ever had. We've only lost about 20 students net this school year. So in a very, very transient community in Indianapolis. Yeah.
So man, there's a lot of questions I've got about that one. I'm not going to go too far now, but the structure you have to have in place to make that work. Well, how do you organize this? And where does this start to organize these academies? Again, especially with the charter school. Charter school, a lot of times you got to start from scratch. I'm not too familiar with Charter USA, but you start from scratch with a lot of things and got to build these yourself. How do you build that structure and organization to help it flow so smooth?
Trey, I'm so glad you asked that, because I have a saying that I brought with me when I came here, and that is, there's a process document for everything, right? So I want when I structure out my building, when the first day I came here, I started asking questions. How do we do this? How do we do that? When people were just verbally telling me that, I was like, let's stop right there. I want a process document for how do I request a check? How do I get a field trip? How do I run academies? What do academies look like? Who's going to be the coaches? I'm so detailed when it comes to those things that I showed my team my level of detail in process documents. When you create a process document for something like dismissal, it's impossible for you to not be able to hold people accountable, because it's right there. It's on the paper. You were supposed to stand right here. You agreed that you were supposed to sit right here. You missed that, so now you can suffer the consequence of what that brings. But when everything is verbal, when everything is like, up in the air and wishy-washy, you should never expect anything but exactly that. Chaos. And I'm not a person who thrives in chaos, especially in a turnaround model where, remember this, every school I've worked at, with the exception of the year I was superintendent, was a turnaround school. So if we ain't tight, this ain't like some suburban school where it ain't tight. We ain't tight. The kids are walking out the classroom, kicking it in the hallway like, yo, we ain't having school today. Y'all ain't got it together. Holler at me tomorrow. And we can't allow that to happen. So we got to be 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times as tight as what the kids expect, because we can't hold them accountable if we're not willing to hold each other accountable. And the best way to do that is through process documents. So I got a process document for everything.
And I love that. I'm doing the same thing in my business and providing that to the schools that I'm working with. And there has to be a step by step, whether it's, kids taking online classes, that facilitator in the classroom, how are you checking in with students? How are you hiring? What do these protocols look like? And I think a lot of times that, again, in this conversation, I see in charter school, what charters have helped me realize is that you have to have an entrepreneurial spirit. And even on another tip, I think a lot of teachers don't have an entrepreneurial spirit. And I know that I'm putting a lot of folks in a box there, but they need the structure.
But hold on, here's the thing though. I think everybody walks into a classroom with either one or two ideas. Either I'm going to do it the best way I was taught, or I'm going to do what's best for children, right? And the truth is that it's easier to fall into the first one if you have a top-down model that says you're going to do this exactly.
Gotcha.
Now, I'm not going to act like I'm not the type of person who doesn't truly tell teachers exactly what I want from them, but they're allowed to have enough latitude and enough space to be able to innovate within their classroom, right? So the other day, I walked into a 9th grade U.S. history class, and when I walk in, the entire class is set up like a model UN. They're bringing up international issues with each other, and they're having an open discussion as to what they think they should do in response as the country they're representing.
Yeah.
That's happening within an inner city school. If I gave her a minute by minute and I said, yo, you got to do it exactly this way, does she get that innovation out of it? No.
Yeah.
Because there's trust there, because she follows so many of the systems and patterns that we expect already, we're able to do something like that within our school.
So I'm trying to think about how to put that in words, because that's so good right there. So you've got the system, you've got the process, but you decide how to follow that. You decide how to get it done. You got to make it happen still. So we've got it documented, but how it looks in your classroom is up to you.
If you don't do anything beyond our plan, you will be fine, right? But we're not going to design in classrooms incentives for you. We're not going to pull your guided reading books for you. We're not going to find you your science project rubric for you.
Yeah.
You're going to find those things for yourself, and we're going to help you find those things. But the nuts and bolts of what you do, the amount of time you spend on direct instruction, the amount of times you have guided reading and guided math happening in your classroom, the school-wide discipline policy, those things are non-negotiable. So we give you the foundation of this is what a good school is. It's up to you to build the walls, the bathroom, the vanity and everything to truly make it yours.
I like that. I like that. Well, tell me this, Lloyd. I think we're about out of time for today. We might have to schedule another episode.
We can do this again, man.
Hey, don't play with me, because I'm serious. I won't leave you alone. So,
all right.
What do you want to leave with a principal, a turnaround specialist, superintendent, guidance counselor, teacher, student, anybody in education that's listening right now? What else do you have to say that you haven't already said right now?
I'm gonna cut it right straight to you. I feel like any successful leader should read these 3 books. And I haven't mentioned many books, but I feel like all principals should read these books. I think the first book you should read is Principle-Centered Leadership by Stephen Covey. And I'm not going to go too in-depth with it, but the basic foundation of it is that you will move courageously through any business or school if you stand on the principles that make you who you are. Honesty, integrity, truth, love, care. Those are things that are inside that book that if you are standing firm on your values, you can confidently lead anyone in any situation. Getting to Yes is another book. Getting to Yes is a book that was introduced to me by my professor, Andrea Kaufman, when I was at DePaul University. And it pretty much talks about every conversation and every interaction two people have is really a negotiation. And being able to communicate effectively with people without feeling like they're in opposition to you. Right. Understanding that sitting next to each other is far more effective than sitting across from each other in an oppositional stance. It breaks all that down, and I use that book every day. I think the last book I want to talk about, as far as from a leadership perspective, I think Teach Like a Champion is like the Bible of like urban education. Yeah. But like, and I'm definitely not trying to be sacrilegious when I say that, but Leverage Leadership is such an amazing book. It's like a how-to manual of how to run a school. Those first two books really have nothing to do with schools. That last book will. If you read that book cover to cover, you will have a plan before you of how to manage inner city schools.
That's the Teach Like a Champion?
Nah, Leverage Leadership.
Leverage Leadership. Okay. Yeah, those are good.
Yeah, and just to close out, once again, Trey, I appreciate you having me on your podcast and everything. I would love for anybody who listens to this, check me out on Twitter at Lloyd the Outlier, Instagram at Lloyd the Outlier. I want all educators to understand that don't think that this is truly impossible. You have an opportunity to truly change the lives of your students if you're willing to give enough of yourself to make it happen. So I appreciate all educators, whether you're not very good or you're one of the greats, because you step up every day for our students, and I appreciate you. We need more Black educators in this world, and I'm going to continue to scream that from the top of my lungs to everybody, because we can't let our babies down in our inner cities. They need us, and it's time for us to stand up for our people and make sure that our students can get what's necessary for them to be successful in life.
Amen. Thank you so much, Lloyd. That you dropped some knowledge and some gems. I'm gonna have a fun time listening back to this one. It might just keep on letting it play on repeat. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening. This is how we bridge the gap in education. It's challenging, it's meaningful, significant conversation on how to bridge the gap in education. So if you like this episode, please share it with someone that needs to hear it. There's educators in your neighborhood and across the country who are looking to be inspired, and Lloyd Knight just ignited a flame to help you do just that. This is the Dash Podcast. Again, thank you for listening. If you like it, share it, and we will see you next time on the Dash Podcast.